First and foremost, I really want to thank all of you for taking time out, coming here and attending this orientation session. My name is Kapil Nakra. I'm one of the co-founders of Digital Vidya. Today we have a very interesting session. We are going to look into the entire space of data science. I know you guys, some of you are who wants to get into building a career in the data science space, or want to sort of upskill your existing skill set and add data science to your kitty. We'll try to answer all the questions that you have related to the data science space today. So just to sort of briefly create with you how next 1 hour is going to go for you, we'll start with the basics of data science. And I'll start with the very basic question, what data science is all about. And rather than explaining you, we'll try to demonstrate it with an example. We'll do a live, we'll actually try to solve a live business case together as data scientists. And then moving forward, I'll share with you some interesting examples and case studies of how data science is getting used currently. After that, we'll actually move forward and try to capture the entire landscape. So all of you who have questions related to what kind of skills that are needed, what are the various specialization options, is it for me or not? So that is something that we'll take up when we'll have a conversation around the technology landscape. Right? At Digital Vidya, we conduct various programs in data science and analytics space. I'll give you an overview of all those programs that we have. And if you have any question that is left unanswered, we'll take up all the questions in the end. My request is, let's keep today's session as engaging as possible. So I'm actually simultaneously looking into the question panel window also. Anytime, whenever I have any question, whenever you have any question, you can just type it in the question panel and I'll take up all those questions at the relevant time during the session. By default, all of you are muted. So anytime if there is a then I'll individually unmute you. That would help us to minimize the overall background noise. So that's a bit about the logistics. So let's get started with the data science space, right? So, to start with, what I want to do is, I wanted to explain you what this whole space, people call it data analytics, data science. A lot of people are confused what data science, data analytics is all about. So rather than giving you a Wikipedia definition of what this whole thing is all about, why don't we actually try to solve some real problem together? And while solving that problem, you would get to understand how do data analysts really work, right? And what is the whole life cycle of the project that goes on in the data analytics space, right? So I was thinking, what is a business problem that we can pick up? And I've tried to pick up a business case that all of you are also part of. So to start with, I'm the one who's going to give you a project, and then I'll come over to your side, and together as data scientists, we'll try to solve this problem. Right? Interesting? Let's do it together. We'll do it just for 5 minutes. So the business problem is that, all of you are here. There are 25 of us in the session right now, and we conduct these webinars very often. So one of the way we actually promote this webinar, we actually run advertisements across various channels in an online space. I'm sure that some of you are here, you might have seen one of those ads, you clicked on those ads, you registered into the webinar, and that's how you end up being in this webinar. Now, I wanted to increase the number of relevant people coming in this webinar. Not that anybody and everybody, but people who are really interested in the data analytics space, and people who really want to get themselves trained in the data analytics space. And so for that, I can actually increase the budget in all those channels. But whom should I target? That's the question. So as a business owner, that's a business problem that I'm giving you. Help me to identify the best targeting option that is suited for Facebook ad campaigns. We run our campaigns on Facebook. We spend a lot of money on Facebook for the promotion of this webinar. And there are various targeting options that are available on Facebook. You can target people based on their gender, where they're located. You can actually do interest-based targeting, and that allows you to target people based on their experience in data analytics space. And also you can target people based on the overall years of experience they have, right? Interesting. So now I'll come over to your side. Now all of us are together as a group. We are data scientists and we'll try to solve this problem. So whenever there is a business case that comes up as a data professional, the first thing that we should look at is how can we get some data that can give us some insight into this business case. Right? What are the ways, some further information can be derived out of it. So we can actually look into the statistics in terms of the performance of the power stats also. We can look into the industry reports also. Another thing that we can look into is we can actually check what kind of people are currently present and try to create some kind of a correlation. We'll try to use some statistical model also today. So let's do that. As a first step, let's get some data on board. So I'm sharing with you a link, all of you a link. Let me tell you what would happen once you go to this link. So once you would go to this link, this form will open up on your screen. It'll ask you to type in your name. If you're not comfortable providing your real name, don't worry, just mention any dummy name over there. Rest of the data, you should be very particular and just provide the exact data that is there with you. In terms of your years of professional experience, like if you're a fresher, if you're a student, just mention 0. And if you have 1 year experience plus 1, if you're more than 10 years of experience, you can mention 10 over here. Then your gender, then where are you really located? In the North India, East India, West India, South India, or from outside India? What is your existing level of understanding of data analytics? So based on your personal assessment, you should do the self-grading. Then what is your likely data analytics training program? Which industry you belong to? Are you a programmer or not? Right? So that's all the data that I need. And then once I have all the data, we'll work together on it. So here is the link. I'm just posting that link in the chat section. It should be available on your screen now. All of you should go to this link. This form will open up, provide the details. And once I have input from all of you, we'll move to the next stage. So I'll just take 30 minutes till the time you are providing the details. The more data point we can get, the better the analysis would be. Let's do it fast. How do I see the link? Akshay, that's your question. So I'm just posting it once again for you. So here is the link. Just go to this link and submit your data ASAP. Got it. So we've got data from Shubham, Venki, Shri Krishna, Sai Manoj. Thanks a lot. There are 30 of us in the session right now. Let's get at least 20-25 data points, and then we will move on to the next stage. Guys, just make it quick, and then I'll take it to the next stage. Great. Excel, Naveen, thanks a lot for the information. So we've got 6 data points. To do better analysis, the best would be that we have lots of data points, but since it's currently limited to about 30, so that's a maximum we can achieve for today. So we've got 8 data points so far. The rest of you, please complete it fast so that we can move to the next stage. 9 data points. I'll just wait for another 10 seconds for all of you to finish this, and then we will move on. Vishaka, you're saying that you're not able to click 10 plus. So you don't need to press 10 plus, you can just, that should be okay, Vishaka. Great, so we've got 10 data points. I'll just count till 10, and then we'll move to the next stage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10. Fine, so let's go with this data. So we have got 11 data points in total. So I'll just take a copy of this data now, right? So what I've done so far is that I've asked you to fill up a Google spreadsheet. Google spreadsheet is not really the best tool that is used for data analytics. That's because there are limited library that is available with Google Spreadsheet. So what I'm going to copy what I've just taken and I'll post it on Excel. Right? Excel has a decently good number of functional libraries that are available, and then I will just copy all the columns and I'll post it over here. Right? So here is the data in front of us. The professional years of experience people have, gender, where they are located, what is the existing, what is the likelihood to do the program, and then the name, the industry, and are you a programmer or not? Yes or no in that case, right? So if you really look at it, most of the people are actually male. So it's a male dominated group for now. Maybe the data science as a domain is male dominated, right? So the next, what I want to do is I wanted to use a data analytics, data analysis library, in particularly a function called correlation. Right? So I will be using the correlation as a function for this. But to use correlation, I need all the data in digit format. I can't use the textual data when it comes to correlation. So that's exactly what I'm going to do now. I'll just convert this data into the textual form in the digit format. So I'll just go to edit, do as quickly as possible. I will replace all the female audience with 2. There are only 2 female audience, male audience with, there are 9 males, fine. So now let's just convert the location data as well. I'll go to edit, find, replace. I will replace North India with 1. There are 4 from North India. I would replace East India by 2. Okay. 1 from East India, West India by 3, 2 from West India, and South India by 4. Replace all. 4 from South India. Great. So it seems there are equal number of people from North India and South India. So it's fairly equally divided also, right? And the name and the industry, this data I cannot convert it into the number format. So as of now, I'll not use it particularly for this analysis. I would also use this in other data, which is, are you a programmer or not? So again, I would replace that, find, replace. I would replace all the programmer with 1, replace all. 6 programmers out of the data set that we have, and I would replace the people who are not a programmer with 2. 4 non-programmers. Great. So now here is the data in front of us, all in the digit format. The next what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a library, a tool called correlation. So there are, like, if you really look at it in Excel, if you go to the data section, you would find data analytics tools called with the library name listed as data analysis. If you don't find it in your Excel, probably you haven't imported it. It's available for free with every Excel license, so you can go online and download it if you want to. Now, here I am, I'm using the correlation right now. So I'll press on the correlation. It's asking me to select the input range. So I will take the input range as A1. This is F12. So there. Okay, the first row is the label, and where should the output be displayed? Okay, I would just share, okay, just display it over here. Fine. So here is the value in front of us, right? So what we have done is we have taken up all the data. We have worked on the data, changed it, reformatted it so that we can use in particular analytics tool. And now we have used and we have come up with a correlation matrix which is available in front of us. So those of you who remember your statistics classes, correlation between the 2 entities is actually tells you how the 2 entities are related to each other, which means that if the correlation value is 1, that means there is a perfect correlation. When one entity goes up, other entity also goes up, right? If the correlation is -1, that means there is a perfect negative correlation between the two. When one entity goes up, other entity goes down at the same time. And if the correlation is close to 0, that means there is no correlation between the two. So if you look at this particular matrix, it gives you the correlation between all the entities that are there over here. So between gender, if you look at between gender and years, professional years of experience, there is a negative, strong negative correlation. But we've labeled female as 2 and male as 1. That means if you're a female, you're supposed to, if you possibly have lesser years of experience, you possibly have years of experience. That's what the statistics suggest over here. If I look at the relationship between, so the one that I'm actually currently interested in is people who are more likely to enroll for data analytics training program. So if you look at all this data, right, the interesting part is, as far as the gender is concerned, there is absolutely no correlation. The correlation is 0.05, which is close to 0. So which means that we should not target people based on their gender. That would not make any sense. Another thing we can do is we can actually, what is your likelihood to enroll into the program? There is a negative correlation. There is a decent negative. People who have more year of experience are less likely to do the program. It's minus 0.02, right? Which means that we should actually target people with lesser experience. People with less years of experience are more likely to do our program than people with more years of experience. So that's an interesting insight. So one thing that I can pass on to my marketing team is that you should go ahead and target people irrespective of, in fact, you should actually target people irrespective of where they're located. There's no significant relation between the two, but you should actually target people with less years of experience. They are more likely to do our program. Interesting. So, that's like, we have, as a data scientist, we have worked together, we have come up with some, and now we pass it on to the business people, and they would derive some value out of it, and we'll look into the next business problem. So fundamentally, if you look at what we have done in last 10 minutes is, we've actually followed a set of processes, worked around few set of techniques, and come up with some meaningful insights. That's what data analytics, that's what data science is all about. There's no difference. Like, no matter what you're doing, you're fundamentally doing the whole thing. I try to just capture the same thing as a data analytics life cycle. So if you look at where we started, we looked into the existing business operations. We looked into where are the existing inefficiencies. There are some business problems that the business is dealing with. So we can, like, as a data scientist, can we work on that? So once you finalize, okay, this is a business problem that you would be working on, the next step is data collection. You collect all the data, you manipulate all the data, you clean up all the data. So once data is in the proper shape, the next thing you would do is that you use some kind of analytics technique to work on that data, and that actually helps you to derive some meaningful insights, and then you would pass on those insights to the people who have given you this business problem. They will take some action, get some value out of it. Time to look into the next business problem. So that's what the data scientists, data analysts keep doing day in and day out. I would want to sort of create a much bigger landscape of the problem that we have done. What we've done is that we've actually tried to solve one particular kind of a problem in the data science space. But if you look at the kind of work that is currently happening in the data science space, the landscape is actually much more bigger. So I can actually divide the entire landscape into two set of problems. One which are more statistical in nature, right? So for example, the problem that we've solved just now, that was more of a statistical problem. You come up with a business problem, you try to arrange a data for it, and you apply some kind of a statistical model, and then you derive some insight on that. The other set of problem that people are working on can be broadly classified in artificial intelligence category. So fundamentally, if you look at what artificial intelligence is, it's actually about trying to replace humans to do some set of work, right? And so traditionally, if you look at what we used to do is, we used to give some instruction, and the computer used to just follow those instructions and give us some output. But in the artificial intelligence space, what we do is we try to create a computer in such a way that it start behaving like humans in its limited context. Now, a part of artificial intelligence work involves machine learning, which is about training machine through data, right? And that's what machine learning is all about, right? And when it's about, you're training machine, another set of things that you need is that machines should be able to learn it by themselves. They should be able to take data and start learning by themselves. And that's where the deep learning comes in. So most of the work, if you look at what data scientists are involved into, are there on the screen, right? And every work requires different set of tools. It's not that like if you specialize on a particular, able to solve all kind of a problem, right? I would say most of the problems that are on the right hand side of the screen would involve a good amount of programming skills. And but if you look at more of a statistical kind of a problem, so people with programming skills definitely can solve that. But then there are tools that are available. You can just use simply Excel to solve statistical problem. You can use tools like SAS that is there. It's been used extensively in some set of organizations. So and so it depends on what industry you want to get into, what is your current objective, where should you focus on, and we'll get into that discussion in detail shortly. Now, I would want to just make it more real for you. I've just been giving you more of a theoretical picture on this. And I want you to look around and see where data science has already started impacting our life on day-to-day basis. It's not just it is something of future. It's not that artificial intelligence, there's some work that is happening and one day something would happen and then our life will be different than what it is today. But there is already a lot of application that are available out there, which is the part of our day-to-day life, right? And I want to just quickly share with you some of them to make it more real for you. So for example, if you go to Google, right, you search in any language, it automatically correct you. And in most of the cases, they would be able to come up with the exact term that you're searching for before you could even type it. The reason why that happens is because there's a group of data scientists who have trained the entire machine. There's a machine learning algorithm that has worked at the back end on all the search queries, and based on that, they've come up with this solution, and it's available for all of us to use. Right? Most of the time, now to check the correct spelling of a particular word, we don't even go to dictionary.com. We actually go to google.com. That's the value of that's the kind of sort of results we can get once we train a particular machine for a particular objective, right? So if we, for example, all of us use various kinds of car rental apps, right? If you go to Uber, for example, which is possibly the best as far as the technology is concerned, and you move from one place to other, right? Or for that matter, fundamentally, they are actually using Google Maps at the back end. And if you go, try to look for direction from one place to another, in real time, they could give you the exact data of the traffic situation, right? And that is happening because there's a lot of hidden, and based on the analysis of the data, they can actually get you the exact time that you would take to move from one location to other. Right? If you go to any e-commerce site, right, and you see things like related to item you have viewed, or list of things of inspired by your shopping list, so that all these recommend there because there is a recommendation engine working at the back, and that recommendation engine is nothing but a work of some data scientist, and it's more of a machine learning algorithm that is working at the back end, right? And so, and then there are a lot of other things that are coming up inspired by your browsing history, inspired by your purchases, and it has been suggested that these recommendations actually help a business to increase sales by roughly 30%. That's the data that's been there on various websites, right? If I look at, I was actually searching which is the oldest example of artificial intelligence, right? And possibly a bit of artificial intelligence was built in the day the aeroplane was there. The autopilot is there from the very early days, the, the aeroplanes. And now, if you look at the current statistical report as for New York Times, if you're taking a flight from one location to other, typically the human steer flight is just 7 minutes. Rest is all automated. If you look at what is happening in the background, there's a lot of data, machine respond accordingly, right? So that's again nothing but one of the application of data science, right? And even if in our day-to-day life, if you know go check out Google, you would see that a lot of mails comes in the spam folder. So that spam monitoring that has been embedded in the Gmail is nothing but the work of some data scientists. And it has been suggested that Google is now being able to successfully filter out by training the algorithm. They're able to successfully filter out close to 99.9% of the spam. Right? You must have seen the email categorization option, like into social, promotion. That is also nothing but based on the content of email and based on how the machine has been trained, they try to categorize into these categories. And this actually helps us to spend close to 6% less time in reading our emails. And that's, I'm talking about the overall number of emails, but we spend 13% less time. So if you look at the overall, the net time that has been spent in reading emails, you would realize the value that this particular algorithm is creating for all of us, right? Not just that, like if you go to Facebook, have you ever tried to tag your friends on Facebook? You would notice that Facebook will automatically detect which of your friends should be tagged on at what point in the photograph. That's because there's an algorithm working over there wherein they have actually digitized all the photographs, and they could recognize the faces, and that face recognition has been built into that, right? So that automatically suggestion is definitely another application. So the point I want to make over here is that it's not that it's going to happen sometime, like this auto drive car that has been getting developed. So there's probably a decade from now we'll have some application of artificial intelligence. It's currently there. The neural networks are currently in operation, and it's currently going on, right? And there are many more examples. I'll want to sort of take up some examples from the industry rather than taking up the day-to-day use cases. For example, Uber, right? What they do is they actually create heat maps for the drivers, which enable them to identify those locations where there is a more possibility of getting a passenger, right? And so all those heat maps are is again, like there's been a machine learning algorithm working who's trying to create those heat maps out there. Companies in e-commerce space, I've talked about the recommendation engine that they work on. But for example, if I look at companies like Big Basket, now they're perishable items. So with the perishable items, the problem is that the life cycle of a product is very less. And if they don't ensure that the right product is there at the right time, they would miss out on the business in a big time. So whole kind of a predictive models around the inventory management is being built up by Big Basket, and which is helping them a lot. Right? In banking space, one of the leading work that is happening in this area is by Axis Bank. They've been doing a lot of work around identifying the money laundering cases, right? The fraud detection cases. It's been done over there. Even in insurance sector, so one is that the fraud detection, the credit rating. That's the basic use case of any company in the insurance sector. But apart from them, objectives like recruiting agents, who is going to perform better or who is not going to perform better, the risk detection for every case, it is all happening through machine learning. Churning is a major problem in terms of as far as the agent is concerned. Even if you look at in telecom sector, after the Geo is there in the market, the controlling the churning rate is a huge problem. So how do you really identify those customers who have potential to get churned and create the right kind of a marketing communication for them is a big problem in the telecom sector. In government, I think one of the best work that I've personally seen is what's been done by Andhra Pradesh government. What actually they have a kind of a chief minister dashboard, and they're monitoring all the departments on the dashboard to a level that how many street light are currently operational is being monitored in real time on the chief minister dashboard. As far as the security, they have actually, with some private companies, they've worked on and they've deployed drones on all the highways to monitor how the patrolling vehicle is working. Are they really doing their job or not? So agriculture, and so they have sort of kind of trying to build applications using machine learning in all the departments in the as in the government. So the point, the work in the data science space is happening everywhere. It's happening at a global level. It's happening at the national level. And where are we really heading in the future? I want to actually show you just a 1 minute video. It's a video of Google Duplex. The Google Duplex was introduced by Google in the recent conferences in May 2018. Presented it, and it is one of the recent invention of Google. Right? Google Duplex is more like an agent that can actually call human, and nobody will be able to recognize that there is a robot sitting at the back who is calling. I'll show you a demonstration of this, and that would really help you to understand where we are heading towards in the future, right? So while through online session, this is not the best medium to show you the video, but I'm assuming that you will get the lesson. So let me just start with this. Give me a minute, it's still getting started. Just a minute, looks like my PowerPoint is hanged, so it will take a minute and then we will move on. So by the time I'm actually showcasing this, I'm adding in. Yeah. So here we are. So let me just first showcase this and then I'll someone else. So here we go.
So let's go back to this example. Let's say you want to ask Google to make you a haircut appointment on Tuesday between 10 and noon. What happens is the Google Assistant makes the call seamlessly in the background for you. So what you're going to hear is the.
Let's just hold on. Looks like my screen is not properly visible at your end, so I'm just. Can some of you please confirm it in the question panel? Is my screen visible? Naveen, you can actually get the recording of the session later. Don't worry. Okay, just hold on. Yeah. So this. Sorry about this hiccup. Just presenter. Yes. So you should be able to see my screen now. So I'm just going to share this 1 minute video with all of you.
So let's go back to this example. Let's say you want to ask Google to make you a haircut appointment on Tuesday between 10 and noon. What happens is the Google Assistant makes the call seamlessly in the background for you. So what you're going to hear is the Google Assistant actually calling a real salon. to schedule the appointment for you. Let's listen.
So how can I help you? Hi, I'm calling to book a women's haircut for a client. I'm looking for something on May 3rd. Sure, give me 1 second. Mm-hmm. Sure, what time are you looking? At 12 p.m. We do not have a 12 p.m. available. The closest we have to that is a 1:15. Do you have anything between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m.? Depending on what service she would like. What service is she looking for? Just a woman's haircut for now. Okay, we have a 10 o'clock. 10 a.m. is fine. Okay, what's her first name? The first name is Lisa. Okay, perfect. So I will see Lisa at 10 o'clock on May 3rd. Okay, great. Thanks. Great. Have a great day. Bye.
Great. So I hope you just got an idea. Where are we heading towards in the future? If these kinds of applications are there, what kind of jobs are going to stay and what kind of jobs are not going to stay in the industry? So till this point, my objective was that you get an idea of what is happening in this area. And now we'll take the conversation to the next level. And before we jump onto this, I would like to introduce you to Shweta. Shweta, I'm just making you the panelist now.
Hey, hi everybody. This is Shweta.
Hi. So you can take up the conversation from this point onwards. I've just made you the presenter as well.
Okay. Just give me a moment so that I can get my slides to the same place. Okay, thank you, Kapil, and welcome everybody. This is Shweta Gupta, and I'm going to continue the discussion here. So I think so far what Kapil really took us through is a lot of different ways where the industry, the businesses, where we as consumers see the use of data science. It is very clear, especially when we look at Google's demo, that there is tremendous amount of work which is happening. But to make it mainstream and for a lot of businesses to start using it, there is still at least a decade of work ahead, just in this very, very space, especially around natural language processing, translations, visual imaging. All these are extremely complex topics. So let's look at the landscape. In terms of technology landscape, as all of you have been reading on what is really required to do data science. And there are multiple technologies, right? Very clearly, that's how the technology landscape is always built. There are multiple ways to do a thing. And pretty much everybody wants to understand, where should you start off, right? When you are looking to build a career, where should you launch it? What should be your launch pad? And a little bit of story on this slide will help you understand that where we are in this space. So we look at it, starting with the bottommost. That is the software which is named statistical analysis software, and SAS is just equivalent to SAP for ERP, for Oracle for database. In a sense, it is expensive licensed software, very old, very mature, and therefore, just like how SAP is implemented at very large organizations, that's how SAS stands to be. Further down, because a lot of researchers, smaller organizations, everybody wanted to use data and do their statistics, there was born R. It is an open source statistical library. So remember, R is not a general purpose software programming tool, which a typical software engineer would know. R is a statistical library, and for the last 15 years, it has been really strong because it's open source. A lot of research work has happened around it. Every machine learning library which was being developed is pretty much being done in R. And what started to really change was of a mainstream programming language, that is Python. Now, with a lot of software engineers and software industry really flying in and seeing that data science is where the play is, and if we are able to skill up and scale up our software engineers to focus on the statistics, which is really the foundation and fundamental of data science, and a strong programming language to allow to do a lot of work, it can really be that bridge. And that is where Python came in. As you all may have heard at one point or the other, Python is a general purpose programming language, extremely popular for web development, to scripting, to a lot of different variety of work. And in Python, a lot of the libraries started to be created, pandas, visualization libraries, and then these machine learning libraries like scikit-learn. But what really changed it is the deep learning, right? As you saw in those big three blobs, as Kapil was talking about them, that deep learning is the next level where data science is using neural networks and using that to solve the kind of complex you saw in Google Duplex. For deep learning, most of the work started to happen in Python as a programming language, and the result is that in the last year, there was a huge tilt, and suddenly the data scientist community started to say, and this was in response to a survey, that Python is key software to be used if you are now getting into a data science career. And then, of course, there's this whole lot of big data technologies. So big data technologies are really technologies and tools, software tools, which are focused for them is to help you handle large size, because they need bigger storage, they allow for a lot of different computing, they allow for real-time work, but eventually the fundamentals and foundation is data science. One can use Spark machine learning to work with this kind of real-time data. To use Spark machine learning library, one needs to know the fundamentals of data science. So remember, that is the key. And the one piece of software which is really relevant to everybody, right? There's no, from running a home to running a simple business, from your garage to home to mid-size business, large-size business, to the very, there's no business which will not use Microsoft Excel as a tool for a lot of people in functional roles to come in, analyze the data, digest the data, do visualizations on the data. So that is really the tool to be used for anybody who wants to make data-based decisions. Just to re-emphasize on what I've been saying, O'Reilly, that's a technology publishing company. They conducted a data science survey, and this is a pretty recent survey last year. And in that survey, what was very clear, okay, I'm getting a lot of responses saying cannot see. So can you just raise your hands Can you just raise your hands to indicate that you all can see my screen and you can hear me? If you can just use the hand button on go to webinar control panel. Okay, thank you so much. I think that is good. Thank you. You can put your hands down. Right. So continuing, O'Reilly, it did a data science tool survey asking folks who were data analysts that which is the tool, which is the reporting tool, which is the crunching tool, which is the business intelligence tool which you use the most. And you can look at the chart and the bottom, it's very, very huge, and it's very clear that it is the 69% of the people who use Excel as the tool. And this is the Python survey, which I was saying, the survey conducted on Kaggle. Kaggle is really, really platform for data scientists all over the world. And the question, what language would you recommend new data scientists to learn first? And you can see the longest bar out there is very, very clearly Python, much behind rest of the tools and technologies. So now let us look at, you've looked at the tools landscape, and I hope it's quite evident right now where the roadmap is. So let's just summarize what are the skills which are needed to succeed in becoming a data analyst, a data scientist, right? So these three circles in the Venn diagram, they really, really come together. So one is one needs to know how to use your tools, how to use, how to be able to consume data and how to be able to work with data, right? That's really the first one, which is called hacking skills. It's not the negative hacking skills. It is really, really positively saying you know how to hack with data. The second key skill is your statistics, right? Very, very important and very, very key. And the third thing is one must know the domain to be able to answer those questions. So a deeper look at these skills. So in terms of statistics, so when people say, statistics, and, some of us really go all sweaty about it because, the last when we did statistics is probably in our undergraduates. So some of you, you're currently doing it, but, one treated, especially if you come from, you don't really expect to do much statistics. And the other side, if you're doing your other fields and you're in function roles, you may not be applying it, right? So it kind of becomes hazy as to what is it that I expected to do. So it's a statistics based one, descriptive stats, probability, and distribution, being able to understand, how does the sample really distribute over a given graph, being able to build your hypothesis tests, being able to identify your population and how they vary and how they come together, and then a few advanced things like regression, right? Single variable regression, multiple variable regression, things like time series. In terms of tools, we've already looked at that graph, and in terms of domain, being able to practice on multiple domains to start with, and once you kind of really know which domain you get into, you start your career, get very, very deep into it so that you know how to frame your questions, how to frame your hypothesis, how to frame your alternate hypothesis, and what data, how, etc., and then eventually how to solve that problem. So I think one of the questions which each of us really, really have is, what should we do? Right? So based on this, we have a very clear roadmap. If you are into sales, marketing, finance, HR, operations, logistics, customer care, supply chain, inventory management, any of these roles, your objective is to make database decisions. You want to play a role of business analyst. You want to come into strategic roles because you are enabling your business to benefit with your database decisions. Then there is a curated course for you called Analytic Techniques Using Excel and Power BI. Now, the other roadmap is very clearly for people who are programmers. For programmers whose objective is to build a career in data science, building machine learning models, getting deeper into whatever work advancements happen in artificial intelligence, right? You want to build a career which is going to use heavyweight, deep technology, deep programming. Then data science using Python is the course for you. So the first course which I talked about for everybody in functional roles, Analytic Techniques Using Excel and Power BI. You start with basic Excel, you move to pretty much advanced Excel, which allows you to explore and work with data. Data could come in whole lot of forms in different sheets in different areas, so you know how to work with all of them. You learn your basic of statistics, you know how to apply it. You get enough SQL because a lot of your data may be sitting in tables, and you know how to work with your MIS team to really get it hands-on. And then visualization tools, Power BI is one, and Tableau is another one which you get introductory. You get to do very interesting capstone projects. These are the end of the course assignments, which help you feel you're really sitting as part of one of these business roles, or a sports statistician, and being able to approach and solve a problem as a business analyst, as a data analyst. So the course is 15 weeks approximately. Sometimes it runs 16 weeks. The next offering is data science using Python. This is where you cover all the library, the key library which you need to do a whole lot of data manipulation, advanced data analytics, visualization, your statistics and machine learning. You do that for approximately about 18 weeks, and your projects are very interesting. One is, across natural language processing. I mean, this is something which cuts across all the industries. And then we have something very, very in-depth in healthcare. So when you learn with digital Vidya, what is really, really your focus? You're learning to work with data. You're learning to handle little, significant amount of different data science techniques and building machine learning models and play with different kind of data. So the key thing here is working. It's hands-on. And my favorite example is, one does not watch a piano lesson of 40 hours and say I'm a pianist, right? One needs to be playing the piano to say that, I'm in the journey of becoming a pianist. So similarly, to qualify yourself as somebody who's a statistician, who's a data analyst, who's a data scientist, one must be working with data. So hands-on, every weekend when you attend 3 hours of instructor-led live session, you go on to do the assignment, you have a very vibrant question answer forum so that you interact, you are posting questions, you learn. So it's key collaborative learning which you must inculcate as you look forward toward building this kind of career. Every week you do your assignment, you get feedback. At the end of it, you learn through that capstone project, and you do have a placement support team which helps you and assists you to move towards a career finding position. Right? So these are the upcoming course dates. Data science using Python, it is 19th August is the Sunday batch, and then 8th September is Saturday. And analytic techniques using Excel and Power BI is coming up on 1st September, that is Saturday. So what we will do is we will move on to take all your question answers now. And while we do that, I also will quickly just ask you to respond to this question, where I'm asking you, based on the information that you received in this hour and all your discussion, with the Digital Vidya consultant and your peers and friends around, what is your interest in? Which generation do you want to train? So please respond to this, and if you want to wait till I have answered your question, that's also fine, right? So I am looking at your questions now. I'm waiting for your questions to flow in. Okay, so I have a question from Anand. Is it mandatory to have programming skills in all analytics? Anand, I really hope that through the chart which I showed you that there is a way to do a lot of analytics and work with data using tools. So that is one part to do which does not require programming. However, one wants to take a path which requires a lot of machine learning, modeling, moving towards deep learning. Yes, it requires programming. Lipsha asks, I'm a BCom graduate and I'm not from science background and I don't have maths in plus 2. Am I eligible for data science and what about the career and jobs in this? So Lipsha, you have understood now what are the key skills that one needs. One needs a strong statistics. So the question you have to ask yourself that, since you haven't done maths since in your plus 2, last you did was in 10th, are you willing to get back into statistics? Are you going to enjoy that? Because without statistics, working with data science, working with data and trying to help with database decisions is really not going to stand very strong. Okay, Shubham is asking, what language is better for data science, ML, Python or SQL? So one has to understand what is SQL for. It really helps you work with data, filter, retrieve, etc. But you cannot be building your machine learning models and doing artificial intelligence with SQL. Right? So SQL helps you analyze your current given data, but you need a programming language to be able to do that, Shubham. Okay, Abhishek's question is, do we get internship options as well? Abhishek, we do try to match, but my recommendation is, and what best works best is really applying on portals like Internshala, because that is the broadest ways where companies look for internships. Bhavna asks, why Python when we can find people working with SAS, SQL as well? Bhavna, absolutely. There are a lot of, as I stated in the technology landscape, that are used to solve any given problem, right? So if you look at SAS is the most matured and oldest software in statistical analysis software. And the largest industries like banking, finance, insurance, healthcare, these are the ones, really big companies, they use SAS. So if your focus is to solely work on this kind of industries and do a lot of maintenance work, because not too much new work gets done in SAS. If that's your focus, you do have definitely you have an option to learn using SAS. Right? As I said, SQL is very good to do a lot of data analysis. But if you're looking to build a career which involves building machine learning models and moving to deep learning, then you do need to learn a language. Akshay says, how should I start as a beginner in machine learning? So Akshay, statistics is the foundation. You start with that, and how the machine learning, what are the different machine learning models, how and where to use them, and then you basically learn how to use those library methods. And the more important part of it is when you're building any machine learning, understand how to test, how to first of all train the data, right? How to train your model, how to test it, what is the accuracy, then how do you improve it? So that these are all the things you learn. But how should I start? I think we have a very structured offering which is basically built to help somebody learn incrementally in a very structured way. Anurag asks, what part of statistics are you supposed to learn because I am a programmer? Anurag, it's Statistics 101. What I would ask you to do is Digital Vidya, we have a Statistics Fundamentals self-paced course, which is free and available to all participants. So go ahead and talk to the Digital and get access to the course. And those fundamentals, as far as you're able to really get a good grasp of it, that is sufficient. A quick reminder, people who if you've got your response, please go ahead and respond to the poll. If you're waiting, that's fine. We are going to finish all the questions. Neha asks, I am experienced in any of the tool, but have experience in healthcare. Can I start my career now? So Neha, you're saying you don't know any of the tools, but you have experience in healthcare. Neha, if you want to be a data scientist in the healthcare industry, you can definitely start your career. I think is that you know which skills are needed, and if you're game to building those skills, and if you're really game towards that career, absolutely, the answer is yes. Shubham asks, want to start with analytics initial phase and move for data science, how feasible it is? Well, Shubham, I think it's a great roadmap. It's a great roadmap because you get to do a lot of work with data. You enable, I mean, you enjoy, you know what you enjoy. You get your fundamentals right, you get your statistics right, you do a lot of work. I mean, you can make a whole career in it. But if you want to do it for next 1 year or so, and then get into more towards building machine learning models, etc., that's actually a much more do not have a programming background. Staprak Ibrahim, I see a hi from you, but I don't see a question. So if it is coming down, good. Otherwise, you may want to type it. Pankaj says, I have 12 years in IT industry. Is it good decision to switch now to data science? Pankaj, the industry is clearly looking for talent. There is a gap. Now, the question is that when you do a lateral shift in the industry, you have to be cognizant. What are the best ways for you to do it? Because data science jobs are being fulfilled in very different ways. One of the best ways is, of course, to make a move in your own organization, to find out what are the requirements, where are they, skill yourself correctly, and go position yourself there, right? That is one of the best ways. The other ways are, build a very strong profile on Kaggle and competitions, etc., so that people vie for you, because being crossing industries with that kind of experience means you really are putting a much higher expectation for yourself to get that job, and the industry may a lot of resources who are much younger and freshers who bring in very similar set of skills for you, though they don't bring in the experience and the domain knowledge. So that's where you have to realize your strength. Vishaka, what are the advantages of Scala over Python? Okay, so Scala is one of these languages which has recently come in, over the last few years. It's making its big way. It is especially very popular in the domain of real-time analytics, because Spark has been written using Scala, and a lot of work in Spark is done using Scala. It is really simple. I would say a lot of it, as compared to Java, it is really simple, and it can do enterprise level work. Over Python, I would say Scala is still much more limited, because Python is much more broadly used in generic data science. It is in certain areas like Spark where Scala is much more prominent. Manoj asks, there are no prior experience in software industry. Is it good to start with data analytics jobs? Difference between data science and data analytics. Manoj, typically the industry expects that when we say data science, we are doing a lot more machine learning. When we say data analytics, we could be doing a lot of very good exploratory analytics, inference from data, be very, very strong at statistics, be good at visualization, storytelling. We could be really, really good at all this, but may not building machine learning models and the other artificial intelligence work. Akshay says, how should I start as a beginner in machine learning? So one of the easiest ways is to do the course, which is because we have curated it for everybody who's starting fresh, data science using Python. That is one way. But if you're looking to do it yourself in alternate ways, then one can look at likes like Google, who produce a lot of, like, even on Kaggle you will machine learning discussions, but obviously they're not structured and curated. But there are definitely ways in which you can self-learn actually. Lipsha asks, I had stats in BCom, but what about the jobs available for a fresher and what will be the package? Lipsha, I think the best thing for package related questions is look up on Spacescale. Somebody who's looking to work with data, that is something which you must do. I mean, I'm not something who really has data on people's job salary stuff, right? As part of a placement team, we have kind of different packages which companies offer, but eventually it is the eventual actual pays that's available at a portal like Payscale or Monster and stuff like that. So that is where I will redirect you to do, right? And in terms of jobs, business analyst jobs are in much demand, and especially, I don't know what kind of functional role you have experience in right now. But in that field and domain of yours, if you can enable your businesses to become data-based, data efficient, you can really grow in any of those strategy roles. Straprak asks, I'm asking, how can I be a data scientist? I have master degree in BI, but I don't know how I build a good knowledge. Okay, I think you have a very interesting question, because you say you have a master degree in BI. So what did that degree really consist of, right? What kind of courses did you study? What did you learn? Because if you did significant work in BI, I suspect and I expect you should be able to solve a lot of different problems. So if you can help me with a little more, type it here, or you can talk over telephone conversations, so that it's much more easier to really understand, because I'm not able to understand where is your skill gap really, right? So because your question does contain that you have certain amount of knowledge already. Anurag asks, I'm doing MCA, I'm in last year, am I eligible for placement at the end of course? Anurag, yes, I believe you are absolutely. You can look at the qualification criteria on our data science using Python for students course, and I would say you are eligible, yes. Of course, there is the other criteria like percentage, etc. So just make sure you read the criteria, you talk to our consultant around it. Bhavna says, current scope for Python in India, as I found that most companies are using SAS and SQL. Bhavna, I'm not sure where you're getting your data from, because most of the companies who are doing data science in India, besides the ones who are in the large BFSIs, everybody is now using Python. If you look at the e-commerce companies, if you look at any of these smaller players and any other domain, small, medium, large, everybody, even the banks, the new work they're doing, they're either moving towards shifting to big data tools and technologies, or they are using a lot of Python for the experiments. So that's very clearly, that is very clear, right? There's no second doubt that Python is the predominant language in India, not only worldwide Kaggle reports, but even in India. Yes, so one thing you can do is you can just kind of search and data scientists on LinkedIn and look at people's profiles, and you will see that most senior data scientists which were doing in R, even they are doing Python now. Okay, Akshay says, why are people using Tableau when Python has its own visualization library? Okay, so Akshay, Tableau is used a lot by non-programmers also, by business, by people who are in business making roles and all kind of roles. They can just import data and use Tableau to give them a lot of visualization. One will not program just because you want to do visualization, right? One would use programming because you want to load the data, understand, and go forward to build some specific models, test them, etc. Right? When you want to do all that stuff, that is when you would use Python. You will not use Python only for visualization. Whereas Tableau is a pure visualization tool. The question from Ibrahim is, what soft skills do I need? So very, very clearly, in terms of soft skills, communication skills and collaboration. These are extremely important. Now, the reason is that if one is trying to solve a problem for a business, right, without collaborating with the key stakeholders, one may be just doing stuff which will not impact your business, right? So being able to articulate your questions correctly, get your answers correctly, be the communication part, and collaborate with the right teams. These two, every leader who is recruiting a team, building a team in data science, or who is doing appraisals on performance, they very, very clearly call out that these are the soft skills which directly impact on the success of the project. Abhishek asks, I have basic knowledge about Python and R. Along with doing Python, doing a JavaScript program also helps in building a good profile into data analyst role. Abhishek, I don't really believe that people look for JavaScript programming solely in data analysts. Can be an add-on. You can wear multiple hats. You can do multiple roles, especially in smaller organizations, small teams. When people are expected to do multiple roles, that can be an advantage. However, that is not something which will be part of job description for a data analyst. Dipsha asks, how would I get free stats course? Please talk to your Digital Vidya consultant or send a mail to shweta.gupta@digitalvidya.com, shweta.gupta, shweta.gupta@digitalvidya.com. The best way is if you're already engaged with one of our consultants, they will very quickly give you the access. Shivam says, can you name some companies which offer placement for post of data scientist at your institute? Okay, so Shivam, I get your question. You want companies which are looking for data scientists. When you say which offer placement for post of data at your institute, I would say really, companies we don't look at fulfilling only at our institute, because the skills are really, really much, they're hot skills. They look go for the best. But to look, there's a of name of companies, and the consultant will help you see the names. So the consultant with whom you're talking at Digital Vidya can help you see the list of companies who currently have openings for data scientists and are looking for Digital Vidya's help to help them fulfill those openings. Manoj says, there are no prior experience in software industry. Is it good to start with data analytics job difference? Oh, I thought I answered this. Manoj, looks like a repeat. Anurag says, most of the company want a person with experience in the field of data analysis. What are the chances of me as a fresher? So companies always have looked for two kind of talent. One is freshers. So freshers means people who are still studying, are going to pass out, this year, next year. And companies do campus placements because they want to build a strong pipeline. They want people to grow in their company. They want them to, build skills and talent further in their company, right? So that is where companies really freshers, freshers are the most inexpensive resource compared to the experienced professionals. So it's always in all industry. People always want experienced folks and people always want freshers. Bhavna asks, I'm doing masters in economics with graduation in mathematics. So should I get into data science right now or later in future? What is economics can have in data science? Bhavna, you will see a lot of economists, and especially when you see reports, they are doing very, very deep level of analysis because pretty much a lot of economics is data based. So if you look at just the media companies who are working around economics and economic data and news reporting, etc., you will observe that they put out a lot of data, charts, visualizations, and if you just go look at their profiles, you will see that it really matches. And I would say that is what you should leverage on, right? You are doing your master's in economics, you'll be looking for jobs in that area, and that combined with when you can really work well, crunch data, help people see it, visualize it, you will add a lot of value, Bhavna. It goes very well with that. Akshay says, is it necessary one has to be a programmer, especially in Python, to excel in this field? One has to be a programmer to be able to do programming based data science. That is necessary, that is true. One can become a programmer in to learn basic programming in a month or two. That is sufficient. Once you learn your basic programming, you spend 1 month on it. We have a basic Python programming course, self-paced. You sit down, practice coding, and then one can build a career using programming. But it is important that yes, the individual, anybody should understand that if you're going to get into advanced courses in data science, right? You want to do data science, not just using available tools, not focus on statistics, but actually get into machine learning. You will need programming. And to be able to do programming, you should know how to do your code, because otherwise, instead of learning data science, you will end up using that same time and energy into just learning how to code. It will be extremely inefficient. I hope, Akshay, you get the point. Anand, as you have a center in Chennai location, we are only offering instructor-led online sessions. That means whichever city or town you are, whether you are in India, whether you are anywhere else in the world, you join in online for that session, you attend the session 3 hours, and then you go ahead and do your assignments. You get the full recording which you can refer to and refresh and revise. Bhavna asks, does it require more than 18 weeks of training to get into the corporate sector? I did not get your question, Bhavna. But what I can tell you, it requires a lot of practice. The 18 weeks which we prescribe is the basics to you learn the concepts and you keep practicing. You cannot stop at 18 weeks. You need to be doing a lot of practice and build a strong Kaggle profile. That is what it will take you to enter the industry. So, 18 weeks is not maximum. That is the minimum you need to do. Abraham says, now I'm full stack developer with 2 years experience. It's good for me to continue this job and learn more and more about data science, or go to get into a new job closely with data. Yes, we work with data, but with not that deep. Abraham, with 2 years experience, you can pretty much take your career anyway, right? Full stack developer, that's obviously a pretty hot career, right? Everybody wants it. So if you enjoy that, you have a lot of potential to grow in it, right? Very clearly. Data science is much more niche, right? Because as a full stack developer, you can do a lot of different kind of jobs and roles. Data science is much more of a niche when you're working with that part of the company, that for the team who's really solving those advanced and deep problems. So you have to decide if that's what you want to get into. If you're game to reskill yourself into statistics, into machine learning, because if you're game for that, you can definitely build a career. And I think the best way to do is just check out in your organization what are the data science projects right now, and what it takes to get into it, and then just skill yourself and get it. So it's really, you have to decide which way you want it. With 2 years experience, you don't have that kind of worry, right? When people were 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, shifting careers at that time requires a lot more introspection, discussion, because if that there's a lot of talent pool between 0 to say 5 years of experience, which could be changing skills. So you should not worry about that, Ibrahim. What you should really look at, where you want to go with your career. Full stack career, developer can take you to a lot of different things. You may not be solving AI kind of problems. So you have to decide, is AI your interest? Is that what's going to drive you? Then yes, then build a career in this field. Bhavna asks, can I directly get into it after the training is what I was talking about? Bhavna, you'll have to do a lot of preparation. So let me rephrase. When you come in and do training, right, it is just like doing anything else. Like, when your teacher, so far, when you're studying, when your teacher teaches you in the class, you attend, you do a little bit of exercise, you still have to prepare a lot for your examination, right? And then if you're doing competitive exam, you have to prepare much more. Any skill is like that. So when you're learning data science using Python, these 18 weeks really help you to get all your concepts, get your practice out. However, does it mean that you do nothing and you expect that you will get a job or you will clear in interviews? Clearly no. You will need to keep building, keep refreshing, keep adding on, keep reading, doing a lot, because data scientists and with platforms like Kaggle, people are doing all the time. These are new age careers, right? They are not traditional careers where you learn something and you just start off. It is open platform. People are contributing, learning, building their profiles every day. It's a very interesting, fast moving career. So Bhavna, you will always need to be on your tiptoe for this career. Always learning, always growing. There is, just after 18 weeks, without refreshing, without practicing a lot more, without building your profile, if you expect you will definitely get a job, there is no such guarantee. You need to be building your profile stronger and stronger. But the key thing is you'll be equipped with the right skills to do that. Akshay says, what do employees expect from a fresher in data science during placements? They expect that you know your statistics and you know how to code your basic machine learning, analytical. That's what you know. That's what they expect you to know. They don't expect you to really know your domain, right? They expect you to know your statistics, fundamentals, and how to code what you claim you have learned as part of your data science. Anand says, should we learn Python prior journey to course data science using Python? Anand, yes. And that is why we have a self-paced course, Fundamentals of Python Programming. The reason is when you join data science using Python, we want you to focus on learning data science. We do 2 sessions just to help you refresh and get everybody kind of on the same. It's not really learning and teaching Python. The course is not about learning and teaching Python. It is about data science using Python. So if you know your Python programming, you're not stuck because of your syntax and because you don't know the data types, right? That is something you should know. So do the self-paced course, be very comfortable with the Python programming syntax, the basic data types, and that is all you need. Bhavna asks, I've seen people getting placement post their training session at some other data science school. So does Digital provide for it? Plus, what would be my approach post my training as a fresher when I appear for an interview? So Bhavna, to the first question, yes, Digital Vidya provides placement support. I don't know at what stage of your discussion are you with a consultant. If, especially as a fresher, if you meet the prerequisites listed on our website, then we provide placement support to you completely as a student. For professionals, based on their number of experience, things matter, right? So that's the answer to your first part. Second part, what should be my approach post my training as a fresher when I appear for an interview? So Bhavna, post completion of the course, we have 2 to 3 recommendations. We have a prep guide which helps you refresh, expect you to keep revising your statistics, because that's a key thing which people look at in your interviews. We expect you to keep coding and practicing to code, because those are the kind of tests you may be expected to take. So it's just like, you know, if you have placements coming in into your college, everybody has to go through the tests, right? People get placement, but if you say that people just get placed without passing interviews, that is not accurate, right? So you have to, and you know, when we make statements like people get placement post training, so what does it mean? It means that they qualify for their interviews. So yes, you will get all the opportunities, but you have to be refreshed. And what I want to make sure you understand is that it is learning is the key here, practicing is the key here, and that is what will land you into the kind of jobs you would enjoy to do. Ibrahim says, is Python, SQL, statistical foundation, and visualization skill enough to be a good data scientist? They make the right fundamentals to be a good data scientist, but to be a good data scientist, one needs to start getting to know the domain in which you are solving your problem. So it takes some multiple years to get it done. You know, you start with a particular industry, you work on a few projects, you keep understanding the way the problems are being solved, the way questions are being created, what kind of data you're looking at. So when you do that, you keep becoming better and a better data scientist, Ibrahim. Yeah. But these skills are the fundamentals. They are the basics which you need to be data scientists. Bhavna, do the companies ask for real-time skills at the time of interview? Oh yes, Bhavna. Most of the companies take coding challenges, especially if they're looking at code. The answer is yes. In fact, one of the most prominent ways to hire is looking at Kaggle-like platforms for your profile, then asking you to do coding tests. There are different platforms on which live platforms tests are taken, and companies conduct hackathons where you have to actually solve the problem, and then they recruit people. So it's a very, very relevant way. Ibrahim says, what courses and certificate do I need, or only practice without international certificate? Ibrahim, data science really does not have an international certificate. Like, you know, the database, Oracle, SAP, SAS has a certificate, right? But say data science in Python, there's no real global certificate there. Akshay says, what is a capstone project and how does it help students? Very good question, Akshay. A capstone project is basically, if you look at it as a definition meaning, what it really means is end of the course project. It's a internationally used word. A lot of a lot of diploma courses, etc., in the world, they end with having to do capstone project. So that is the terminology. How does it help? So what it helps you do is that as you're learning incrementally, right, you're making sure that you understand the concepts, you know how to use that tool, what you have learned, the new concepts. So you keep incrementally building it. Then eventually you want to feel exactly like a data scientist who's able to take a problem, solve end to end. And that is something which Capstone Project helps you to do. Focus towards solving a problem, looking at a problem as an analyst, as a data scientist, and really being able to solve it end to end. So it really helps you see that entire landscape of what you have learned. It's I would say it's like an open book examination, right? Because you have access to all the resources, and eventually you have to put together and say, okay, everything which I've learned, I know how to apply it. Bhavna's question, though I've done a few software in my college, but I'm from PCMB background, no computer science. Should I get something on basic programming? How does digital media not programmers cope with it? So Bhavna, very, very simple thing for you. I'm not giving you any complicated, very simple thing. We have a course for basics of Python programming. It is self-paced. That means the code is written, the output is written, right? You go through that, you start coding and practicing yourself. It has about 10 chapters. It has a couple of mini projects. Mini projects is what you need to complete and submit. Rest everything is for self-learning. Once you do this, give yourself, some fixed timeline. Say that, okay, in 3 weeks, I'm going to do it. You do it, you will know at the end of 1 month, you know that you are ready to be a programmer and do data science. It's a very simple answer. Don't let it be abstract for you that, okay, what will happen? How do I will I be able to do it or not? What kind of help will I get? All that is abstract. What is real and what is most feasible is do it, give yourself a timeline, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, right? Whatever you think. At the end of it, you will be you will not be a non-programmer anymore. You will be a programmer. And then you are ready to do this. Shubham says, does your course help in building a Kaggle or group profile? Shubham, absolutely. We, as you start doing this course, in fact, from the 4th week onwards, you start doing and solving problems in Kaggle. That is what we expect our students to do. Your first, in fact, we have one of the climate change notebooks, which you must complete and submit as probably your first Kaggle submission if you don't have any before. And every week with the assignment, you should at least try to do one Kaggle submission, and you must build your profile. That is a must. I mean, that's what we tell everybody. And that was my point, right? That the learning doesn't stop with what you're doing. It is a base, and you really, really need to keep practicing. Okay, looks like I've come to the end of all the questions. Okay, Ibrahim does have another question. How to demonstrate project or proof of concept look like in data science? How can make proof of concept in telecoms? Oh, Ibrahim, it's very, very simple. Learning has become so simple in today's world. Just go to kaggle.com, Kaggle, kaggle.com. There are like hundreds of data sets, and look up at data set of your choice, whether it is telecom or sales. Look at the problem statement, and you can build your solution there. You can read another 100, 200 data scientists who have solved that problem, and it is open to reading the code. You can start with any of those and expand it, extend it, really, really take it to whatever level you want. So learning in data science is a much more open community than any other learning which has been. You actually can solve problems posted by likes of Google, by banks and institutes, different education institutes. A lot of people have posted their problems, and you can work on them. So it's very, very problem solving oriented. It's not abstract, right? You go there and you solve it, and you know that you have demonstrated, you have built the skills. What kind of problem is solving? What are the issues you're facing? It's all collaborative. It's in the open. Okay, I hope that helps you, Ibrahim. Bhavna says, I have a gap about 4 years between my graduation and post-graduation. How does it affect my interview prospects? Bhavna, the same as, it's a very HR stuff. They will ask you, you have to explain them, this is why you took a gap. It's a very HR specific. Technical folks will just ask you once and they won't care. They really care how well equipped you have made yourself for your career now, for what you're applying now, how well you're coding, you're solving problems. So I would say that it's only after that when you go through the HR people, they have all these questions typically. Akshay says, how can a student strengthen his profile just after course? Go to Kaggle and strengthen your profile as much as you want. That's the best way of today's learning. It is, and I mean, I believe as student, you don't even know what is old style of learning. But say in the last 20 years, this is the time when you can actually build your profile so actively, and Kaggle is the way to do it. All data scientists have their profile there. Bhavna, do they ask for reasons of filling the gap or take it as a negative? Oh, they don't take it as a negative. I mean, most companies, there can be few, ones, but it's really most companies will hold a discussion. The HR really, once you are clear with the technical part, the HR really focuses on understanding that how valuable this resource is for us, if there are any issues and blah, 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 right? It's all very subjective. So as far as, it all comes out honestly and transparently, I don't think that is the issue. I think if you make this a issue, you will not be able to move on with your career at all, right? I mean, if you're always thinking about the gap, I think what your focus should be that how you rightly skilling yourself. And therefore, for you to decide which career path to take, and if you're ready to get into programming, because I've told you very specifically how to decide. So get past that point, and then I don't think you should be thinking of this right now, because that will, I mean, any job you go to, you'll probably have to handle that question, right? Ibrahim asks, can you provide me with the link where there's open data? Kaggle, 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 Kaggle.com. If you just Google, it will take you to Kaggle. When we say, Anand says, when we say 18 weeks, does it mean only one day in a month or all the weeks in a month covered? So every weekend there is a 3-hour class, and during the week you're expected to refresh the topic, do your assignment and submit it. So every week you're expected to spend 10 hours at least on it, at least minimum. And then if you want to build a strong Kaggle profile, you need to spend another at least 10 hours every week. Okay, I will take it as the last question, and thank you everybody. Bye-bye.